Miguel Santos pushed his cleaning cart down the empty hallway of Lincoln High School, the wheels squeaking softly in the silence. It was Thursday evening, 8:17 p.m., and the school had been empty for hours. Most janitors preferred the day shift, but Miguel had always worked evenings, fewer people around, quieter, time to think while he cleaned. At 52, Miguel had been a custodian at Lincoln High for 19 years. He'd watched thousands of students pass through these halls, graduate, move on with their lives. Most never noticed him. He was part of the background, the invisible man who cleaned up after them. Miguel didn't mind. He took pride in his work, keeping the school spotless, creating a clean environment for learning. Miguel entered the girls' bathroom on the second floor, pulling on rubber gloves as he surveyed the usual mess. Paper towels scattered around sinks, soap smeared on mirrors, trash overflowing from bins. He sighed and began his routine, wiping down sinks, refilling soap dispensers, mopping floors. As Miguel emptied the trash bin by the stalls, something caught his eye: a notebook, spiral-bound with a worn purple cover, sitting on top of wadded paper towels and discarded homework assignments. Students often threw away perfectly good notebooks, usually after final exams or when switching classes. Miguel normally would have tossed it without looking, but something made him pause. The notebook's cover was decorated with hand-drawn flowers and the word "private" written in careful script. A diary, someone's personal diary, thrown away. Miguel hesitated. Reading someone's diary felt wrong, invasive, but something in his gut told him to look. Maybe there was a name inside and he could return it to its owner. Maybe a student had thrown it away by accident and would be looking for it tomorrow. Miguel opened the diary to the first page. No name, just a date from 6 months ago, and neat handwriting. "I'm starting this diary because I need somewhere to put the things I can't say out loud, somewhere to document what's happening, so maybe someday someone will believe me. I'm 15 years old. My name doesn't matter, because I don't think I'll be alive much longer anyway." Miguel's heart sank. He flipped to the next entry, then the next, reading with growing horror. The diary chronicled 6 months of sexual abuse. The writer, a 15-year-old girl, described in heartbreaking detail how her stepfather had been molesting her since her mother remarried 8 months ago. The entries were dated, specific, devastating. January 15. "He came into my room again last night after Mum fell asleep. I tried to lock my door, but he took away my lock last month. He said if I tell anyone, he'll hurt Mum. He said no one would believe me anyway, because he's so respected at his job and in the neighborhood. I'm trapped." February 30. "I tried to tell my school counselor today, but couldn't find the words. How do you tell someone that the man your mother married is raping you? She seems so happy with him. He bought her flowers yesterday. Everyone thinks he's wonderful, but at night he's a monster." March 22. "I can't keep living like this. Every night I'm terrified he'll come to my room. I sleep with a chair against the door, but he just pushes it aside. I'm failing classes because I can't concentrate. My friends ask what's wrong, but I can't tell them. How do you explain that your home isn't safe, that the person who's supposed to protect you is destroying you?" Miguel felt sick reading the entries. This girl, whoever she was, had been suffering for months, documenting her abuse with the desperate hope that someone would eventually read it and believe her, and now she'd thrown the diary away. Miguel flipped to the most recent entry, dated today, Thursday, April 18. "I can't do this anymore. I've tried to be strong, but I'm breaking. Last night was the worst. He hurt me badly. I looked at myself in the mirror this morning and didn't recognize the broken girl staring back. I've decided, tomorrow night, Friday, April 19, I'm going to end this. I've been researching methods. I found my mum's sleeping pills. I'll take them all after she and Richard go to bed. By Saturday morning I'll be gone. Maybe then the pain will stop. I'm throwing away this diary because I don't want anyone to find it after. I don't want Richard arrested. I don't want Mum to know what he did. She loves him, and finding out would destroy her. Better she thinks I was just a depressed teenager who couldn't handle life. Better everyone forgets about me. I'm sorry, Mum. I love you. I just can't survive another day of this." Miguel's hands trembled as he held the diary. This girl was planning to kill herself tomorrow night, Friday. Today was Thursday evening. He had less than 24 hours to find her and stop her, but he didn't know who she was. The diary contained no name, no identifying details beyond that she was 15 and attended Lincoln High. There were over 2,400 students at Lincoln High, approximately 600 in the freshman and sophomore sophomore classes, where a 15-year-old would likely be. Miguel's mind raced. He had to find this girl. He had to stop her suicide and rescue her from the stepfather who was abusing her. But how? Miguel pulled out his phone and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? My name is Miguel Santos. I'm a janitor at Lincoln High School in Riverside. I found a diary in the trash. A 15-year-old girl has been documenting sexual abuse by her stepfather. The most recent entry says she's planning to kill herself tomorrow night, Friday night. I don't know who she is. I need help finding her before it's too late. Sir, you found a diary describing ongoing sexual abuse and a planned suicide. Yes, please, you have to help me find this girl. She's in terrible danger from her stepfather, and she's planning to take her own life in less than 24 hours. I'm dispatching police to your location. Stay where you are. Don't touch anything else. Officers will be there shortly. Miguel stood in the empty bathroom, clutching the purple diary, praying they could find this girl in time. Within 20 minutes, Riverside police officers arrived at Lincoln High School. Miguel met them at the entrance, still holding the diary he'd found. I'm Officer James Martinez. You're the janitor who found the diary. Yes, Miguel Santos. I found it in the girls' bathroom on the second floor about 30 minutes ago. It was in the trash. I almost threw it away, but something told me to look. When I read it, Miguel's voice broke. This girl has been suffering for months. Her stepfather has been raping her, and she's planning to kill herself tomorrow night. We have to find her. Officer Martinez took the diary carefully, flipping through pages while his partner, Officer Sarah Chen, took notes. There's no name anywhere in the diary, Chen asked. No name, just entries describing the abuse and her plans. She's 15. She attends this school. Her mother recently remarried, 8 months ago according to the entries. Her stepfather's name is Richard. That's all I know. Martinez radioed for Detective Maria Rodriguez from the Special Victims Unit. We need SVU here. We've got a diary documenting ongoing child sexual abuse and an imminent suicide threat. Anonymous victim, limited identifying information, less than 24 hours to identify and protect her. While waiting for Detective Rodriguez, officers secured the bathroom where the diary was found and began reviewing school security footage to see who'd entered that bathroom during the day. Detective Maria Rodriguez arrived 40 minutes later. At 43, she was a 20-year veteran of the Riverside PD, with 15 years in the Crimes Against Children unit. She'd worked hundreds of child abuse cases, but the ticking clock on this one made it uniquely urgent. Show me what we have, Rodriguez said. Miguel handed over the diary and explained how he'd found it. Rodriguez read through entries, her expression growing darker with each page. This girl has been living in hell for months, Rodriguez said quietly. The abuse is detailed and consistent with sexual assault patterns. The stepfather is using classic control tactics, threats, isolation, making her believe no one will believe her, and now she's reached a breaking point where death seems like her only escape. How do we find her? Miguel asked desperately. She threw away the diary because she's given up hope. She's planning to die tomorrow night. We're running out of time. Rodriguez thought quickly. The diary gives us some information we can work with. She's 15. She attends Lincoln High. Her mother remarried 8 months ago to a man named Richard. She's a student whose behavior has likely changed, failing grades mentioned in the entries. Let's start narrowing down the possibilities. Rodriguez called Lincoln High's principal, Dr. Patricia Morrison, who agreed to come to the school immediately, despite the late hour. By 10 p.m., they'd assembled a crisis team in the principal's office. Detective Rodriguez, Principal Morrison, school counselor Dr. James Chen, Miguel Santos, and 2 officers. We need to identify a 15-year-old female student whose mother remarried approximately 8 months ago to someone named Richard. Rodriguez explained. The student is likely showing behavioral changes, declining grades, social withdrawal, depression symptoms. Dr. Morrison accessed the school's database. We have 587 students in 9th and 10th grades who are age 15. Let me filter for females, 294 female students age 15. Can you cross-reference with students whose family status changed in the past year? Rodriguez asked. New step-parents, changes in emergency contacts, address changes. Dr. Morrison worked through the database. 17 female 15-year-olds with documented family changes in the past year. Let me pull up their records. They reviewed each student's file, looking for matches. Ron Reckings Tomas, Emma Wilson, parents divorced, living with father, no recent remarriage. Sophie Martinez, mother remarried, but stepdad's name is Carlos, not Richard. Olivia Brown, father remarried, not mother. Ashley Thompson, mother remarried 8 months ago, new stepfather, Richard Palmer. Ashley is 15, sophomore. Ashley Thompson, Rodriguez said. Pull up everything we have on her. Dr. Morrison brought up Ashley's records. The file painted a heartbreaking picture. Academic records: freshman year last year, 3.7 GPA, honor roll, active in drama club. Fall semester sophomore year, GPA dropped to 2.8. Spring semester current, GPA now 1.9, failing 3 classes. Teacher's notes: Ashley seems withdrawn, not turning in assignments, falls asleep in class. Attendance: freshman year, perfect attendance. Counseling notes: school counselor Dr. Chen had met with Ashley twice this semester at teachers' requests. Ashley is clearly struggling with something, but won't open up about what. She denied problems at home, said she's just tired and stressed about school. I offered resources, but she declined further counseling. Emergency contacts: mother, Jennifer Thompson Palmer. Physical description: Wenron, Caucasian female, 15 years old, brown hair, green eyes, 5'4", 120 tumps. This matches everything in the diary, Rodriguez said. Mother remarried 8 months ago to Richard Palmer. Ashley's grades have collapsed. She's missing school. Counselor noted she's struggling, but won't discuss why. This is our victim. What do we do now? Miguel asked. We need to move fast and carefully, Rodriguez said. Ashley is in imminent danger from her stepfather, and she's planning suicide for tomorrow night. But we need to be strategic. If we approach this wrong, we could push her toward the suicide attempt, or alert the stepfather who might harm her or flee. And we need evidence to arrest Richard Palmer and build a case that will put him in prison. Rodriguez outlined a plan. Immediate actions: school counselor would request Ashley come to his office first thing Friday morning for an academic check-in. Once Ashley was at school, Rodriguez would speak with her privately. Simultaneously, officers would execute a search warrant at the Palmer home and arrest Richard Palmer. Ashley's mother would be interviewed separately. The priority is Ashley's safety, Rodriguez emphasized. We prevent the suicide, remove her from the abusive environment, and build the case against Richard Palmer. Miguel, you saved this girl's life by finding that diary and calling us. We're going to make sure she survives this. Miguel felt tears in his eyes. Please save her. She's just a child. She's been suffering, and no one noticed. I see students every day, but I never saw her pain. Please don't let her die. We won't, Rodriguez promised. Friday morning arrived with perfect spring weather, sunny, warm, birds singing, a cruel contrast to the darkness of Ashley Thompson's situation. Miguel Santos arrived at Lincoln High at 6 a.m., earlier than his usual schedule. He couldn't sleep, couldn't stop thinking about Ashley and whether they'd reach her in time. He'd spent the night praying for a girl he'd never met, whose diary he'd found in the trash. At 7:30 a.m., students began arriving for school. Miguel watched from his maintenance closet near the main entrance, looking for a brown-haired 15-year-old girl who might be Ashley Thompson. He didn't know what she looked like. There'd been no photo in her school file that he'd seen. Detective Rodriguez was positioned in an unmarked car in the school parking lot, watching. 2 uniformed officers were stationed discreetly near exits. School counselor Dr. Chen was in his office, waiting to request Ashley for a meeting. At 7:52 a.m., Dr. Chen's voice came over Rodriguez's radio. Ashley Thompson just arrived. She's at her locker. I'm going to approach her now and bring her to my office. Rodriguez watched through binoculars as Dr. Chen approached a slender girl with brown hair pulled into a messy ponytail. The girl looked exhausted, her shoulders hunched, carrying her backpack like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Dr. Chen spoke briefly with Ashley, who followed him reluctantly toward the counseling office. Once Ashley was secured inside the school, Rodriguez radioed her team. Subject is inside school building. Execute the search warrant. 4 officers drove to 2000 Oakwood Drive to execute a search warrant on the Palmer residence and arrest Richard Palmer. Simultaneously, Rodriguez entered the school and headed to the counseling office. Inside Dr. Chen's office, Ashley sat in a chair across from Dr. Chen, looking confused and wary. Am I in trouble? Ashley asked quietly. No, not at all, Dr. Chen said gently. I wanted to check in with you because I've been concerned. Your teachers say you're struggling this semester. Your grades have dropped significantly. You seem unhappy. I want to help if I can. I'm fine, Ashley said automatically, the same lie she'd been telling for months. Just stressed about school. Ashley, I don't think you're fine, and that's okay, you don't have to be fine. But I want you to know you're safe here, and you can talk to me about anything. Ashley's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them back. There's nothing to talk about. Can I go to class? There was a knock on the door. Dr. Chen opened it to reveal Detective Rodriguez, who entered and sat down. Ashley, my name is Detective Maria Rodriguez. I'm with the Riverside Police Department. I need to talk to you about something very important. Ashley's face went pale. What? Why? Why? I haven't done anything wrong. You're not in trouble, Rodriguez said gently. Last night a school janitor found a diary in the trash.
A diary written by a 15-year-old girl describing sexual abuse by her stepfather named Richard. A diary where the last entry said the writer was planning to end her life tonight. Ashley, was that your diary? Ashley's careful facade shattered. She started shaking, tears streaming down her face. I don't... How did you... Ashley, I need you to listen to me carefully, Rodriguez said, moving closer and speaking with quiet intensity. You are not in trouble. You have done nothing wrong. What Richard Palmer has been doing to you is a crime, a terrible crime. You are the victim, and you are not going to die tonight. We are going to protect you, and we're going to stop Richard from ever hurting you again. Ashley sobbed, her whole body shaking. You can't tell my mum. It will destroy her. She loves him. She's finally happy after my dad died. I can't ruin that for her. Your mother deserves to know the truth, Rodriguez said. And you deserve to be safe and protected. Ashley, I need you to tell me, did Richard Palmer sexually assault you? Through tears, Ashley nodded. How many times? I don't know. Dozens of times. It started 2 months after they got married. At first it was just touching. Then it got worse. I tried to stop him, but he's stronger than me. He said if I told anyone, he'd hurt my mum. He said no one would believe me, because he's an executive at his company, and everyone thinks he's perfect. I felt so trapped. You're not trapped anymore, Rodriguez said firmly. Right now, officers are at your house executing a search warrant and arresting Richard Palmer. He's not going to hurt you ever again. And we believe you, Ashley. Every word. My mum, Ashley cried. Where's my mum? Officers are speaking with her now. She's safe. But I need you to stay here at school for now, while we sort everything out. You're safe here. There are officers outside this room. Richard can't get to you. Ashley collapsed into sobs, months of terror and pain pouring out. Dr. Chen sat beside her, offering tissues and quiet support while Rodriguez coordinated with her team. At the Palmer residence, officers knocked on the door of the well-maintained suburban home at 28047 Oakwood Drive. Richard Palmer answered, a tall, fit man in his early 40s, wearing business casual clothes, clearly preparing for work. Can I help you? Richard asked with practiced charm. Richard Palmer, Officer James Martinez asked. Yes, we have a warrant to search this residence, and you're under arrest for multiple counts of child sexual assault. Richard's charming mask slipped for just a second, a flash of panic before he recovered. There must be some mistake. I haven't assaulted anyone. This is ridiculous. Turn around and place your hands behind your back, Martinez ordered. As officers handcuffed Richard, his wife Jennifer emerged from the kitchen. What's happening? Richard, what's going on? Mrs. Palmer, I'm Detective Sarah Chen. We need to speak with you. Is there somewhere we can talk privately? Jennifer looked confused and terrified. Someone tell me what's happening. Why are you arresting my husband? Mrs. Palmer, we've received credible allegations that your husband has been sexually assaulting your daughter Ashley. We're executing a search warrant, and Mr. Palmer is being arrested. I need to speak with you about this. Jennifer's legs gave out. She collapsed into a chair, her face white with shock. No, that's not possible. Richard wouldn't. Ashley would have told me. This can't be true. I'm afraid it is true, Detective Chen said gently. Ashley has been documenting the abuse. She's safe at school right now, but we need to talk about what happens next. As Richard was led to a police car in handcuffs, neighbors emerged to watch, shocked to see the respected neighborhood father arrested. Inside, officers began searching the house for evidence, while Detective Chen sat with Jennifer, who was in complete shock. Ashley wrote in her diary that Richard threatened her. Chen explained. He told her no one would believe her. He told her if she disclosed the abuse, he'd hurt you. She's been protecting you, Mrs. Palmer. She's been suffering in silence to keep you safe and happy. Jennifer sobbed. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Ashley seemed unhappy this year, but she said it was just school stress. I thought she was adjusting to having a stepfather. I never imagined. How could I not have known my daughter was being raped in her own home? Abusers are very good at hiding their crimes, Chen said. And they're very good at making victims feel like they can't tell. This is not your fault, but your daughter needs you now. She needs you to believe her and support her. Where is Ashley? I need to see her. She's at school, being interviewed by Detective Rodriguez. Once we've completed initial interviews and secured evidence, you'll be reunited. Right now, the most important thing is that Ashley is safe. Richard Palmer is in custody. He can't hurt her anymore. Search of the Palmer residence revealed disturbing evidence supporting Ashley's allegations. Physical evidence. Ashley's bedroom showed signs of forced entry. Broken lock on door. Scratches around the doorframe. Hidden cameras found in Ashley's bathroom. Richard had been recording the abuse. Computer evidence showing Richard had been viewing child pornography. Photos on Richard's phone showing Ashley in various states of undress, taken without her knowledge. Digital evidence. Internet search history on Richard's computer. How to groom a teenage stepdaughter. What to do if accused of sexual abuse. Can stepfathers be prosecuted? encrypted files containing thousands of child pornography images, communications with other child predators discussing access to stepdaughters, medical evidence. Ashley agreed to a forensic medical examination, evidence of sexual trauma consistent with repeated assault. Ashley provided detailed statement about the abuse. The evidence was overwhelming. Richard Palmer wasn't just an opportunistic abuser. He was a calculated predator who'd likely targeted Jennifer specifically because she was a widow with a teenage daughter. Detective Rodriguez interrogated Richard Palmer, who initially maintained his innocence. "This is all a misunderstanding," Richard claimed. "Ashley is a troubled teenager. She's angry that her mother remarried. She's making up stories to get attention and break us up. Ashley kept a detailed diary for 6 months documenting your abuse," Rodriguez countered. "She described specific incidents with dates, times, and details. We found hidden cameras you installed in her bathroom. We found child pornography on your computer. We found evidence that you deliberately targeted Jennifer because she had a teenage daughter. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is a pattern of predatory behavior." Confronted with undeniable evidence, Richard's story changed. "Okay, maybe I made some mistakes, but Ashley was flirting with me. She wanted the attention. Teenage girls can be very seductive. She's 15 years old," Rodriguez said coldly. "She's a child. There's no scenario where a 41-year-old man sexually assaulting his 15-year-old stepdaughter is anything other than rape. Stop trying to blame the victim." Richard tried several more tactics, claiming Ashley had emotional problems, suggesting the abuse was exaggerated, minimizing his actions. Classic predator denials, but the evidence was irrefutable. Eventually, Richard's attorney advised him to stop talking. He was formally charged with wrongful child pornography possession. He faced 40-plus years in prison if convicted on all counts. Ashley Thompson's road to recovery began the moment Richard Palmer was arrested, but healing from 8 months of sexual abuse would be a long process. Immediate protection. Ashley was placed in temporary protective custody while her living situation was determined. She couldn't return home immediately. The house where she'd been assaulted held too many traumatic memories. Jennifer Thompson Palmer, who immediately reverted to her maiden name Thompson, was devastated but focused entirely on supporting her daughter. "I should have known," Jennifer told Detective Rodriguez through tears. "How did I not see what was happening to my own child in my own home? Predators are expert manipulators," Rodriguez explained. Richard presented as a devoted stepfather. He was charming, successful, respected. He carefully crafted that image while hiding his true nature. "You're not at fault. Richard Palmer is the only person responsible for what he did." Jennifer and Ashley were reunited at the police station. Their reunion was emotional and healing, both crying, both apologizing, both starting the process of rebuilding trust. "Mom, I'm so sorry," Ashley sobbed. "I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid. He said he'd hurt you. He said you loved him and finding out would destroy you. I couldn't bear to hurt you." "Baby, you have nothing to apologize for," Jennifer said, holding her daughter tight. "You were protecting yourself and protecting me. I'm so sorry I didn't see what was happening. I'm so sorry I brought that monster into our lives. I will never let anyone hurt you again." Therapy and healing. Ashley began intensive therapy with Dr. Lisa Martinez, a psychologist specializing in childhood sexual abuse recovery. Ashley experienced prolonged sexual trauma during a critical developmental period. Dr. Martinez explained, "The abuse was perpetrated by someone who was supposed to be a protective parental figure. That betrayal of trust causes profound psychological damage. Ashley will need long-term therapy to process the trauma, rebuild her sense of safety, and develop healthy coping mechanisms." Ashley struggled with common symptoms of abuse survivors. Of therapy. Therapy pilled hernatal therapy to prost. Left pout. Poyer trust. Fucking eltel triuto. Come thirdest dust poyer to extelken stuff the proprust. Thouses fedix to cost to apist. Each amalcodic cardiac therapy a mile thouch. When did you stelken sergouch? When did try it? Helping turbinage. Breaking the initial colson turbinate. Depression and suicidal ideation. Shame and self-blame. Document debt. Difficulty trusting adults, especially men. Anxiety about returning home or being alone. The hardest part is that I feel broken, Ashley told Dr. Martinez. Richard took away my ability to feel safe in my own home, my own body, my own life. I don't know how to get that back. Healing isn't about going back to who you were before, Dr. Martinez said gently. It's about moving forward to become someone new, someone who survived something terrible and found the strength to keep living. That diary you kept was an act of survival. Documenting what was happening was you fighting back in the only way you could. The diary's role. Miguel Santos had saved Ashley's diary, the one she'd thrown away intending to die. Now it served a different purpose. Evidence in the prosecution of Richard Palmer, but also a tool for Ashley's healing. Reading back through my diary entries is painful, Ashley told Dr. Martinez. I see how much I was suffering, how hopeless I felt, but I also see my strength. I documented everything. I kept fighting even when I wanted to give up.
That girl in the diary survived 8 months of horror. She's stronger than she knew. The diary's final entry, the suicide plan for April 19, now represented not Ashley's ending, but her beginning of recovery. April 19 was meant to be her death day. Instead, it became her liberation day. Miguel's role. Ashley asked to meet Miguel Santos, the janitor who'd found her diary and called police. Their meeting at the police station was emotional. Miguel had been haunted by images of the suffering girl he'd never met. Ashley had been curious about the man who'd saved her life. "Mr. Santos, thank you for reading my diary and calling for help," Ashley said. "I threw it away because I'd given up. I thought no one would ever see it or care. But you saw it. You cared. You saved my life." Miguel had tears in his eyes. "I almost didn't look. I almost just threw the whole trash bag away. But something, maybe God, maybe instinct, told me to look at that diary. When I read what you'd been through, my heart broke. I had to help you. You're the reason I'm alive," Ashley said. "If you hadn't found that diary, I'd be dead. Richard would have gotten away with what he did to me. Instead, I'm safe and he's in jail. You're a hero." "You're the hero," Miguel said. "You survived. You documented everything. You fought back the only way you could. I just made sure the right people saw what you'd written." Miguel and Ashley stayed in contact. Miguel became an unexpected support figure, a safe, protective older male presence who helped Ashley rebuild trust in men after Richard's betrayal.
Richard Palmer's trial began 8 months after his arrest. The prosecution's case was overwhelming. Lead prosecutor Jennifer Martinez built the case on multiple evidence types. Ashley's testimony. Ashley, now 16, testified via closed-circuit video to avoid facing Richard in person. Her testimony was detailed, consistent, and devastating. "Richard started touching me inappropriately 2 months after he married my mum," Ashley testified. "At first it was accidental touches that I thought I was imagining. Then it became deliberate. He'd come into my room after my mum was asleep. He'd corner me in the bathroom. He raped me repeatedly over 8 months. I tried to tell him to stop, but he was stronger than me. He threatened me. He said if I told anyone, he'd hurt my mum. He said no one would believe a teenager over a respected businessman. He said my mum loved him, and finding out would destroy her. I felt trapped. I kept a diary documenting the abuse, because I thought maybe someday someone would read it and believe me. But eventually the pain became too much. I decided to kill myself. I threw away the diary because I didn't want anyone to know what Richard had done. I thought it would hurt my mum too much, but a janitor found my diary. He read it. He called police. He saved my life. And now Richard can't hurt me or anyone else anymore." The diary, Ashley's purple diary, was entered as evidence. Prosecutors walked the jury through key entries, showing the progression of abuse and Ashley's deteriorating mental state over 6 months. "This diary is a contemporaneous record of ongoing abuse," Prosecutor Martinez told the jury. "Ashley documented what was happening to her in real time. These aren't recovered memories or uncertain recollections. These are dated, detailed entries describing specific incidents of sexual assault. The diary corroborates Ashley's testimony completely. Physical evidence, Rondra Tuldum Hapley. Hidden cameras Richard installed in Ashley's bathroom. Child pornography found on Richard's computer. Thousands of images. Photos of Ashley on Richard's phone, taken without consent. Evidence from Ashley's bedroom. Broken lock. Signs of forced entry. Medical evidence showing trauma consistent with sexual assault. Digital evidence. Computer forensics revealed Richard's internet history, encrypted files and communications with other predators. Richard Palmer wasn't an opportunistic abuser, Prosecutor Martinez argued. He was a calculating predator. Evidence shows he specifically sought out Jennifer Thompson because she was a widow with a teenage daughter. He groomed both Jennifer and Ashley. He installed surveillance in Ashley's bathroom. He collected child pornography. He communicated with other predators about access to stepdaughters. This was planned, systematic predation, expert testimony. Dr. Lisa Martinez, Ashley's therapist, testified about the psychological impact of the abuse. Ashley attempted suicide because she saw death as the only escape from ongoing sexual abuse by her stepfather. The diary entries document her deteriorating mental state, increasing hopelessness, depression, trauma symptoms, and finally, the decision to end her life. Ashley is alive today only because a school janitor found her diary and called police. Without that intervention, Ashley would have died by suicide on April 19th, and Richard Palmer would have continued victimizing her or found new victims. Dr. Martinez explained the psychological tactics Richard used to control Ashley. Richard Palmer employed classic grooming and control strategies. He isolated Ashley by convincing her no one would believe her. He used threats against her mother to ensure silence. He created a situation where Ashley felt responsible for protecting her mother's happiness, even at the cost of her own safety and well-being. This is textbook predatory behavior designed to trap victims in silence. Miguel Santos's testimony. The janitor who'd found the diary testified about the discovery that started the investigation. "I was cleaning the girls' bathroom on the second floor Thursday evening, April 18th, Miguel testified. "I found a purple diary in the trash. I almost threw it away without looking, but something told me to check if there was a name inside so I could return it. When I opened it, I found entries documenting sexual abuse and a plan for suicide the next night. I called 911 immediately. Mr. Santos, why did you call police rather than just turning the diary into school administration?" Prosecutor Martinez asked. "Because the girl who wrote that diary was planning to kill herself in less than 24 hours, Miguel said, emotional. "There was no time to go through normal channels. She needed immediate help. I knew if I didn't act fast, she would die." What would you say to other school staff or community members who might encounter signs of abuse? "Pay attention," Miguel said firmly. "I'm a janitor. I'm invisible to most students. But I saw that diary, and I recognized someone was in terrible danger. Everyone, teachers, janitors, coaches, bus drivers, anyone who works with kids, we all have a responsibility to notice when something's wrong and report it. That diary saved Ashley's life because I paid attention and acted on what I found." Jennifer Thompson's testimony. Ashley's mother testified about the devastation of learning her husband had been abusing her daughter. "When police told me Richard had been sexually assaulting Ashley, my first reaction was denial. It couldn't be true. Richard was charming, successful, loving. Everyone liked him. But then I saw the evidence, the diary entries, the hidden cameras, the child pornography. I realized I'd brought a monster into my home and exposed my daughter to him. Ashley had been suffering for 8 months, and I didn't see it. I thought her depression and declining grades were teenage stress. I thought her withdrawal was normal adjustment to having a stepfather. Richard convinced me everything was fine. He was so good at lying, so good at presenting a perfect image. I will carry guilt about this for the rest of my life, but I've learned that predators are expert manipulators. Richard fooled me, fooled Ashley's teachers, fooled our neighbors and friends. He was a professional predator who specifically targeted single mothers with daughters. I was not his first victim, family, and without this prosecution, I wouldn't have been his last. Richard Palmer's defense. Palmer's defense attorney tried multiple strategies, all of which failed against overwhelming evidence. Strategy 1. Deny the abuse occurred. Ashley Thompson is a troubled teenager, creating false allegations. Prosecution response. The diary documented abuse over 6 months with specific details. Physical evidence, hidden cameras, child pornography, medical evidence, corroborated Ashley's account. Richard's own computer showed he'd researched grooming techniques and communicated with other predators about stepdaughter access. Strategy 2. Claim Ashley was a willing participant. Ashley was a sexually precocious teenager who initiated inappropriate contact. Prosecution response. She's 15 years old, a child by law. There is no scenario where a 41-year-old man engaging sexually with his 15-year-old stepdaughter is anything other than rape. The defense's attempt to sexualize and blame a child victim is exactly the tactic Richard Palmer used to silence Ashley, telling her no one would believe her and she was somehow responsible. It's disgusting and legally irrelevant. Strategy 3. Minimize the severity. Perhaps there were some inappropriate interactions, but not to the level charged. Prosecution response. Ashley's diary documented dozens of sexual assaults over 8 months. Medical evidence showed trauma. Richard installed cameras to record the abuse. This wasn't a boundary issue. It was systematic, predatory sexual abuse of a child. The jury wasn't swayed by any defense arguments. The evidence was too strong, Ashley's testimony too credible, and Richard's own actions too damning. After 3 weeks of trial, the jury deliberated for 4 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all 43 counts. 17 counts of child sexual assault, 12 counts of child pornography possession, 6 counts of illegal surveillance, 4 counts of child exploitation, 3 counts of evidence tampering, 1 count of witness intimidation. Richard Palmer showed no emotion as verdicts were read, maintaining his sociopathic detachment even as he faced decades in prison. At sentencing 3 months later, Ashley provided a powerful victim impact statement. Now 16 and substantially healed through intensive therapy, she spoke directly to Richard Palmer for the first time since his arrest. "Richard Palmer, you are a predator who destroys children's lives. You targeted my mother because she was a widow with a teenage daughter. You pretended to be a loving stepfather while planning to rape me. You systematically abused me for 8 months, threatening me into silence, making me feel like I had no escape. You took away my sense of safety. You made my own home a place of terror. You stole my childhood. You drove me to attempt suicide because I saw death as the only way to escape you. But I survived. I documented what you did to me in my diary. When I threw that diary away planning to die, a janitor found it and called police. Because of his vigilance and courage, I'm alive. Because of the evidence I documented, you were caught. Because our justice system believed me, you're being held accountable. I'm 16 years old now. I'm in therapy. I'm healing. I'm rebuilding my life. I still have nightmares sometimes. I still struggle with trust. But I'm alive, and you're going to prison. You will never hurt another child. I want the maximum sentence for Richard Palmer, not just for what he did to me, but to protect every other vulnerable child who might have become his next victim. He's a serial predator who will reoffend if ever given the chance. Lock him away forever." Jennifer Thompson also provided a statement. "Richard Palmer didn't just victimize my daughter, he victimized our entire family. He manipulated me into marriage. He used my trust to gain access to my child. He destroyed my daughter's innocence and safety while I believed I was providing her with a stable family. I will carry guilt about bringing Richard into our lives forever, but I've learned that guilt belongs solely to Richard. He's the predator who planned and executed these crimes. I was fooled, Ashley was victimized, and countless others were at risk from him. I support the maximum sentence. Richard Palmer is irredeemably dangerous to children. He should never be released from prison." Judge Patricia Morrison reviewed the extensive evidence and victim statements before sentencing. "Richard Palmer, you are one of the most dangerous predators to appear before this court. You specifically targeted a widow with a teenage daughter. You groomed both the mother and daughter. You systematically sexually abused a 15-year-old child over 8 months. You installed surveillance equipment to record the abuse. You possessed thousands of child pornography images. You communicated with other predators about accessing children. Ashley Thompson survived your abuse only through extraordinary resilience. She documented your crimes in her diary. When she attempted suicide because she saw death as her only escape from you, a vigilant janitor found that diary and called police. Without that intervention, Ashley would be dead, and you would still be hunting for victims. You've shown absolutely no remorse. You've blamed Ashley. You've minimized your actions. You've demonstrated that you are a calculating, unrepentant predator who will victimize children at every opportunity. The law allows me to impose consecutive sentences on these counts. I'm doing exactly that. Judge Morrison sentenced Richard Palmer to 17 counts of child sexual assault, 25 years each, 425 years child pornography charges, 85 years surveillance and exploitation charges, 65 years. Total sentence, 575 years in state prison with no possibility of parole for at least 50 years. Richard Palmer, you will spend the rest of your life in prison. You will die in custody. You will never again have access to children. Society is permanently protected from you. Palmer was led from the courtroom in shackles, sentenced to die in prison for his crimes against Ashley. Ashley Thompson's healing journey was neither linear nor simple, but it was ultimately successful. With intensive therapy, family support, and her own resilience, she rebuilt her life from the ashes of Richard Palmer's destruction. First year after disclosure. The first year was the hardest. Ashley struggled with PTSD symptoms, nightmares, flashbacks, panic attacks. She had difficulty sleeping, eating, concentrating. She missed significant school time due to therapy appointments, court proceedings, and days when trauma symptoms were too overwhelming. "Some days I couldn't get out of bed," Ashley told Dr. Martinez during therapy. "The depression was crushing. I'd survived Richard, survived my suicide attempt, and should have felt grateful to be alive. But instead I felt broken, damaged, ruined. I didn't know how to be normal anymore." Dr. Martinez worked with Ashley on trauma processing techniques, NDR to reduce the emotional intensity of traumatic memories, cognitive behavioral therapy to address negative thought patterns, art therapy to express feelings non-verbally, group therapy with other abuse survivors to reduce isolation. Healing from sexual trauma isn't about forgetting what happened, Dr. Martinez explained. It's about processing the memories so they don't control your present. It's about rebuilding your sense of safety, worth and hope for the future.
Ashley also struggled with stigma. When classmates learned about the trial, it was covered extensively in local news. Some were supportive, but others were cruel. I heard Ashley Thompson slept with her stepdad. She probably wanted it, and now she's lying. Why didn't she just tell someone if it was really happening? The victim blaming from peers was almost as painful as the abuse itself, Ashley said. Richard had told me no one would believe me. When classmates questioned my story or blamed me, it confirmed his words. It made me doubt myself even though I knew the truth. Ashley changed schools after her sophomore year, seeking a fresh start where no one knew her story. The new environment was healthier, allowing her to rebuild her identity beyond sexual abuse victim. Second year, rebuilding. By the second year, Ashley was making significant progress. The nightmares decreased. She could sleep through most nights. Her grades improved. She reconnected with old friends and made new ones. She even started dating, tentatively, carefully, with extensive therapeutic support around healthy relationships. Learning to trust again was terrifying, Ashley said. Richard had been someone my mother trusted, someone I was supposed to trust. He violated that trust in the worst possible way. How do you trust anyone after that? Dr. Martinez helped Ashley develop frameworks for healthy trust. Trust is earned gradually, through consistent behavior. It's okay to be cautious and set boundaries. Red flags should be heeded, not ignored. Healthy people respect boundaries and don't pressure. Ashley also found purpose in advocacy. She began speaking at schools and community organizations about recognizing and reporting abuse. I stayed silent for 8 months because Richard convinced me no one would believe me, Ashley told audiences. I was wrong. When I documented the abuse in my diary and it was found, people believed me immediately. Police believed me. Prosecutors believed me. The jury believed me. I wish I'd found the courage to disclose earlier. I want other kids in abusive situations to know. Adults will believe you. Tell someone. Keep telling until you get help. Third year. Thriving. By her senior year of high school, Ashley was thriving. She'd healed enough that trauma no longer dominated her daily life. She was an honor roll student again, active in theater and student government, planning for college. I'm not the same person I was before Richard, Ashley reflected. That innocent 14-year-old girl doesn't exist anymore. But I'm also not the broken 15-year-old who tried to kill herself. I'm someone new, someone who survived hell and came out stronger. I have scars, but they don't define me. Ashley won a college scholarship for overcoming adversity. Her essay about surviving abuse and finding purpose in advocacy earned her full tuition to a university where she planned to study psychology and social work. I want to help other survivors, Ashley explained. I understand trauma in a way that people who haven't experienced it can't. I want to use my pain to help others heal from theirs. Miguel Santos's continued role. Miguel remained an important figure in Ashley's life. They met monthly for coffee, where Miguel, a father figure who'd never had children of his own, provided safe, protective support. Mr. Santos reminds me that good men exist, Ashley told her therapist. After Richard, I was afraid of all men, but Mr. Santos has been consistently kind, protective and appropriate. He helped me understand that Richard was an aberration, not representative of all men. Miguel attended Ashley's high school graduation, tears streaming down his face as she walked across the stage to receive her diploma. That girl was supposed to be dead, Miguel told Jennifer afterward. She was planning to kill herself 3 years ago. Instead, she's graduating with honors, heading to college, building a beautiful life. Finding her diary was the most important thing I've ever done. Ashley Thompson's case sparked reforms in how schools, communities and systems protect children from abuse. School-based reforms. Lincoln High School implemented comprehensive changes. Mandatory abuse recognition training. All staff, teachers, counselors, administrators, coaches, cafeteria workers, janitors received training on recognizing signs of abuse. Behavioral changes. Declining grades, withdrawal, anxiety. Physical indicators, unexplained injuries, inappropriate clothing, verbal cues, references to fear at home, suicidal ideation, pattern recognition across multiple indicators. Ashley showed multiple warning signs that in hindsight clearly indicated abuse. Principal Morrison acknowledged declining grades, increased absences, withdrawal from activities, visible depression. Individual teachers noticed pieces, but no one connected the full pattern. We've implemented systems to ensure warning signs are shared and assessed comprehensively. Anonymous reporting systems. The school school installed anonymous reporting mechanisms, physical drop boxes, online forms, text lines, where students could report concerns about themselves or peers without fear of identification. Ashley felt she couldn't disclose because Richard had convinced her no one would believe her, school counselor Dr. Chen explained. Anonymous reporting lowers barriers to disclosure. Students who are afraid to speak up directly can still get help. Regular mental health screenings. All students now received quarterly mental health screenings to identify those struggling with depression, anxiety, trauma, or suicidal ideation. If we'd been systematically screening for mental health issues, we would have identified Ashley's suicidal ideation before she reached the crisis point, Dr. Chen said. Regular screening creates multiple opportunities to identify and help struggling students. See something, say something. Culture. Schools emphasize that everyone has responsibility to report concerns. A janitor found Ashley's diary and called police, saving her life. Principal Morrison told students at an assembly. Miguel Santos isn't a counselor or teacher. He's a custodian, but he paid attention, recognized danger, and acted. Every person in this building, student or staff, has that same responsibility. If you see something concerning, say something. Report to a trusted adult. Make the call that could save a life. Community awareness. Public education campaigns taught communities to recognize child abuse indicators, warning signs, child showing fear of specific adult, child avoiding going home or wanting to run away, inappropriate sexual knowledge or behavior, sudden changes in behavior, grades or social patterns, references to suicidal thoughts, unexplained injuries, or signs of trauma, adult who isolates child from family friends. How to report. Call Child Protective Services, 1-800-252-2873. Call National Child Abuse Hotline. Tell school counselors, teachers or administrators. Call police if child is in immediate danger. Ashley suffered for 8 months before her diary was found, said child protection advocate, Dr. Jennifer Park. 8 months where teachers, neighbors, family friends and community members had opportunities to notice something was wrong and report it. We need communities where everyone watches out for children and reports concerns. Legal reforms. Illinois strengthened laws protecting children and prosecuting abusers. Mandatory reporting expansion. The definition of mandatory reporters expanded to include anyone who works with children in any capacity. Coaches, tutors, religious leaders, activity instructors. Richard Palmer abused Ashley for months while she attended school, activities and church, explained State Senator Patricia Rodriguez. Multiple adults had contact with her during this time. Expanding mandatory reporting creates more checkpoints where abuse might be identified and reported. Enhanced penalties. Penalties for child sexual abuse increased, particularly for abuse by person in position of trust, parent, step-parent, teacher, coach, use of technology to facilitate abuse, hidden cameras, child pornography, cases involving multiple victims or extended duration. Richard Palmer received 575 years appropriate for his crimes, said prosecutor Jennifer Martinez. Enhanced penalties reflect societal recognition that child sexual abuse causes profound, lasting harm, and predators must be stopped permanently. Survivor support funding. State funding increased for trauma therapy for abuse survivors. Lijnspalt pamrenschaald wijntal poos. Lijnspalt pamrenschaald. Ashley needed intensive therapy to heal, Dr. Lisa Martinez explained. Not all families can afford that care. State funding ensures all abuse survivors can access the treatment they need, regardless of financial resources. 5 years after Miguel Santos found Ashley Thompson's diary in a school bathroom trash can, the case remained a powerful example of how one person's vigilance can save a life. Mark Armand, now 57, still worked as a janitor at Lincoln High School, but his role had expanded. He was now also the school's safety ambassador, conducting training for staff on recognizing warning signs and creating cultures of awareness. 5 years ago, I found a diary written by a 15-year-old girl who was planning to kill herself that night because her stepfather had been raping her for months. Mark Armand told a room of new teachers during orientation. I almost threw that diary away without reading it, but something told me to look. What I read horrified me. Months of documented abuse and a suicide plan for the next night. I called 911. That call saved Ashley Thompson's life and put a predator in prison. Mark Armand described the importance of paying attention to details others might miss. I'm a janitor. Students barely see me. I'm part of the background, but that means I see things others miss. I see what students throw away. I notice behavior patterns. I observe who's struggling. Every person who works in a school, teacher, counselor, administrator, custodian, cafeteria worker, we all have opportunities to notice when something's wrong with a student. We all have responsibility to pay attention and report concerns. Mark Armand
Thompson described the Entoppiwang Menolds training program had reached thousands of school staff members and had led to 47 documented cases where school employees noticed warning signs and reported concerns that helped students in crisis. Ashley Thompson, now 20, was in her junior year at Northwestern University, studying psychology with a focus on trauma and recovery. She'd found her calling in helping other abuse survivors heal. 5 years ago, I was a 15-year-old girl who'd given up hope, Ashley told a conference of mental health professionals. My stepfather had been raping me for 8 months. I saw no escape except death. I planned to kill myself on April 19th. I threw away my diary because I didn't want anyone to know what had happened after I was gone. But a janitor, Miguel Santos, found that diary. He read it even though it felt invasive to read someone's private thoughts. He called police even though he didn't know if his concerns were valid. His willingness to act on instinct and uncertainty saved my life. Ashley described her 5-year journey from victim to survivor to advocate. The first year was hell. I had PTSD, depression, suicidal thoughts. I struggled to trust anyone. I felt broken beyond repair. But I had good therapy, family support, and determination to not let Richard Palmer destroy my future. Gradually, I healed. The nightmares decreased. I learned to trust again. I found purpose in using my experience to help others. Now I'm in college studying psychology. I volunteer with organizations supporting abuse survivors. I speak publicly about my experience to raise awareness. I'm building a life Richard tried to take from me. I'm not just surviving, I'm thriving. Ashley maintained her close relationship with Miguel, who she considered family. Mr. Santos is one of the most important people in my life, Ashley said. He's the man who saved me. But beyond that, he's been a consistent, protective presence. He helped me learn that not all men are predators like Richard. He showed me what healthy, appropriate care from an older man looks like. He's like a grandfather to me. Miguel attended Ashley's college events and stayed in regular contact. Their relationship represented the best outcome of one person's choice to pay attention and act on concern. Jennifer Thompson, now 43, had rebuilt her life after the devastation of learning she'd married a child predator who'd abused her daughter. She divorced Richard immediately after his arrest and worked through intensive therapy to process guilt and grief. I married a monster who raped my child in my home, Jennifer reflected 5 years later. That guilt will never fully leave me. But I've learned that Richard Palmer was a professional predator who specifically targeted single mothers with daughters. He fooled me, fooled Ashley's teachers, fooled everyone. Predators are expert manipulators. The most important thing is that Ashley survived. She healed. She's building a beautiful life. And Richard is in prison forever, unable to hurt anyone else. Richard Palmer remained in Stateville Correctional Center serving his 575-year sentence. He'd been assaulted multiple times by other inmates who, despite being criminals themselves, had no tolerance for child predators. He lived in protective custody, isolated and despised. Prison officials reported Richard showed no remorse and spent his time filing frivolous appeals, claiming wrongful conviction despite overwhelming evidence. All appeals were denied. Richard Palmer will die in prison, prosecutor Jennifer Martinez said. He will never again have access to children. The community is permanently protected from him, and Ashley Thompson gets to live the life he tried to take from her.
A decade after that April evening, when Miguel Santos found a purple diary in a trash can, an event commemorating Ashley's rescue brought together everyone whose lives had intersected in that moment. Miguel, now 62 and recently retired from Lincoln High School, reflected on how one decision to read a discarded diary had changed everything. 10 years ago, I was emptying trash bins and I found a diary, Miguel told the audience. I almost threw it away without looking, but I flipped it open. What I read was a teenage girl's documentation of months of sexual abuse by her stepfather and her plan to commit suicide the next night. I called 911. That call saved Ashley Thompson's life. Miguel described the decade since, the training programs he'd developed, the culture changes at Lincoln High School, the dozens of students helped because staff learned to recognize and report warning signs. One diary in the trash revealed a child in crisis, Miguel said. But how many other children are suffering in silence? How many warning signs do we miss because we're not paying attention? Everyone who works with children has a responsibility to notice when something's wrong and report it. You don't need certainty, you just need concern and willingness to make the call. Ashley Thompson, now 25 and a licensed social worker specializing in trauma therapy, spoke about her journey from victim to survivor to helper. 10 years ago, I was a broken 15-year-old who saw death as my only escape from abuse. Today, I'm a trauma therapist helping other survivors heal. That transformation happened because one janitor paid attention, one detective believed me, one community supported me, and I refused to let Richard Palmer's evil destroy my future. I work with abuse survivors every day. I help them process trauma, rebuild safety, find hope again. I understand their pain because I lived it. I understand their recovery because I walked that path. My suffering has become my superpower, the ability to help others survive what I survived. Ashley had published a memoir titled The Purple Diary, How a Discarded Journal Saved My Life and Exposed a Predator. The book combined her personal story with education about recognizing and reporting child abuse. It had become required reading in many social work programs and had helped countless abuse victims find courage to disclose. Jennifer Thompson, now 48, spoke about the lasting impact on families when a predator infiltrates a home. Richard Palmer didn't just victimize Ashley, he victimized our entire family. 10 years later, we're healed but forever changed. Ashley and I have rebuilt our relationship stronger than ever. We've both found purpose in advocacy and education, but we carry scars that will never fully fade. I want every parent to know, predators are expert manipulators. They present as charming, successful, trustworthy. They target vulnerable families. You can do everything right and still be fooled. If it happens, it's not your fault, but you must believe and support your child when they disclose. The event concluded with the unveiling of Ashley's Law, new Illinois legislation requiring comprehensive abuse prevention education in all schools. Ashley's Law requirements: annual abuse prevention education for all students, mandatory training for all school staff on recognizing and reporting abuse, anonymous reporting systems in every school, regular mental health screenings for all students, increased funding for survivor support services. Ashley Thompson survived because a janitor found her diary and acted, said State Senator Patricia Rodriguez, but Ashley shouldn't have had to suffer for 8 months before being saved. Ashley's Law creates multiple checkpoints where abuse might be identified earlier and children protected sooner. After the ceremony, Ashley and Miguel stood together looking at Ashley's purple diary, now preserved in a display case as part of a traveling education exhibit about child abuse awareness. "This diary was supposed to be my suicide note," Ashley said, looking at the worn notebook. "I threw it away planning to die the next day. Instead, you found it. You read it. You called for help. This diary became evidence that put Richard in prison and the foundation for my healing. That diary told your story when you couldn't speak it aloud," Miguel said. "You survived 8 months of hell by documenting what was happening. Then you survived because I found what you'd written. That diary saved your life in more ways than one." They stood together in comfortable silence, a janitor and the woman he'd saved, reflecting on a decade since one discarded diary and one observant eye had intersected to prevent a suicide and expose a predator. 10 years, one purple diary in a trash can, one janitor who almost didn't look, one 15-year-old girl planning to die the next night, one call to 911 that changed everything, one life saved that April evening, one predator imprisoned for life, one family healed from profound betrayal, hundreds of students helped through enhanced awareness, an entire state transformed in how it protects children, one moment of paying attention, one decision to read someone's discarded pain, one choice to act despite uncertainty. That was always enough. More than enough. Everything.
Thank you very much for listening. Please let us know what you think of this story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos.